Hello everyone. Let us see what is storage account. Whenever you create a virtual machine, say if you are creating a virtual machine and you have to attach the disk, right? You need to attach the operating system disk, and also you need to create and attach the data disk for the operating system. So this can be Windows or Linux. You are basically creating the operating system disk and the data disk. So these disks are coming from the managed disks, right? For using operating system disk or the data disk, there is no need for you to create the storage account. Storage is an infrastructure as a service. Why do I require a storage? If I have data, these data can be .doc files, PDF, XLS, movie file, audio file, and any image file. If I wanted to store these type of data, then I need to have storage. If I have the storage, then I'll be able to store all this data, right? And this storage should be persistent storage. Why do we require persistent storage? There are two types of storage. One is volatile and the other one is non-volatile. RAM is volatile. So once the laptop or the server has been rebooted, the data which was stored in the RAM, it is not available. So it is only available when it has been powered. Non-volatile is a persistent storage. If you write the data, it will be always available. So this is why we store all this data into a non-volatile storage or the persistent storage. In the initial days, we had something called as floppy drive, floppy disk. So this was only 1.44 MB of capacity. Then we had the CD. Then we had something called as DVD. So this was around 650 MB. This was around 4.3 GB file. And then we had somewhere around 8.7, I think. 8.7 GB. So this was basically used for audio. And many operating system vendor like Microsoft, SUSE, Red Hat, they used to supply the operating system package with the CD, and also application like antivirus, financial, accounting software, everything used to come in CD. And DVD was very popular for the movie. And then we add hard disk. So this was starting from GB now, which is available in terabyte. So this was a mechanical disk, and this had multiple interfaces. So this came with IDE, SATA, SAS. So there were multiple interfaces for a disk drive. And later we add the same hard disk drive which had little bit of flash added. So this was called hybrid. If you have purchased hard disk drive from Seagate or Western Digital, you would have noticed there would be hybrid hard disk. Then we add the SSD itself. Then we have the current trend is flash drive. So both are non-mechanical, and this is mechanical drive, which add the arm and the head magnetic heads. With the hybrid disk, we add little bit of SSD plus HDD. So these were the mediums which were used to store the data, starting from floppy to the flash. And the data what you are going to store on these type of medium will be classified into structured data, semi-structured data. Then unstructured data. So these are the classification of the data. So in structured data, we have database. In semi-structured, we have XML, JSON. For unstructured, we have text, movie file, AVI, MP3, PDF, .doc. So all this comes under unstructured data. If I am using the schema to query the data, then it will be a database, which will be structured data, which has the rows, columns, and tables. And semi-structured data, it doesn't have to be queried. It doesn't have any schema, but still it has some format of structure. And unstructured, as you know, it doesn't have any structure. We cannot query, and it also doesn't have any schema. So these are the classifications of data. And all these data has to reside in some or the other storage medium. If I take the database, it needs very high performance storage. So that is the reason why database are stored in either flash or SSD. For semi-structured data, we don't require such a high performance disk. We can go with storage optimized or standard hard disk. Also, we can use standard hard disk for the unstructured data. So whenever there is a data which is written in smaller chunks and which requires high write performance, then we require the flash storage. So for semi-structured and unstructured, we can use the standard SSD or the standard hard drive. When we create a storage account, we need to select from the options what exactly we are going to do with this particular storage account. Whether we are using for the binary large object storage, we wanted to use it for the queue storage, we wanted to use it for the table storage, or we wanted to use it for the Azure files. If I wanted to use for queue storage, Azure files, table storage, and binary large object storage, then I have to choose the standard general purpose V2 storage. So this is the option what you have to select from the performance. You have been given with an option of performance with the standard and the premium. So when you choose performance, you will be able to select the standard general purpose V2, and we are able to use the blob storage, queue storage, table storage, and Azure files. When you choose standard general purpose V2, you have all the options available: LRS, GRS, RAGRS, ZRS, GZRS, RAGZRS. So these are the redundancy type. This we will discuss in the next video. And in the usage, it has been clearly mentioned. If you are specifically going for Azure files, then choose the option for the premium. So you need to choose the premium storage account type. Say my requirement is only to store block blobs, which is storing the block binary large object storage. I have to create the premium account, premium storage account. So these are the supported services, blob storage, and the redundancy which is available is the LRS and ZRS only. The usage, it is used if you have smaller objects, and if you require the low storage latency, then you go with the premium block blob storage account. And also if you require high transaction rate, then you choose premium block blob account. The next account type is premium file shares. The supported services is Azure Files. The redundancy option for premium file shares are LRS and ZRS. The premium file shares are recommended for enterprise, high scale, high performance applications like web services. And if I wanted to use SMB, which is very familiar with Windows, and also NFS for Linux or Unix. So whenever you wanted to share the files using the SMB protocol or NFS protocol, you use Azure File Services. When you create premium file share storage account, so this will be basically for the enterprise users. So either it can be NFS or SMB. So when you create a file shares, then you are using something like this: share, then marketing, finance. So this is very familiar in Windows. When you try to map the shared folder to enterprise users, you will be mapping these type of shares to the user profile. If you are using NFS for the web services or for mounting any file shares in the Unix or Linux operating system, then you will use something like this: NFS share 01, share 02. So this is how you mount NFS shares to the Unix or Linux. So this is for Linux, and SMB for Windows. So when you select premium page blob account, the supported service is page blobs only, and the redundancy what you get is LRS. Page blobs are used to attach the disks for the virtual machines. You create a page blob disk and you attach to the virtual machine. So this is the only usage when you create premium page blobs. So now there is no need for you to create premium page blobs to create a disk and attach to the virtual machines. This is how in earlier days when we used to use the Azure cloud services, we used to create the storage account, create the page blobs, and then attach to the virtual machines. So now we are not using this method. So simply we are using the managed disks, which has LRS and ZRS. So both are supported in managed disks. So what is storage account endpoints? When we create a storage account, we need to provide the name for the storage account. If I am using the name of demo123, if this particular name is already taken by some other user or some other organization, I cannot repeat the same name. So the name should be unique. It should be globally unique. Globally unique in the entire Azure cloud. We cannot repeat the same name. Either it can be from different user or different organization. You cannot use the same name repeatedly. The combination of the account name and the storage service endpoint forms the endpoint of your storage account. If I am creating account Blob, this will be my storage account name. So if I have account Blob, this will be my storage account name. This is the endpoint for the service. The combination of the storage name and the endpoint is the endpoint for the storage account. So this combination, this entire combination is the endpoint for the storage account. When you create a storage account, the name should be between 3 and 24 characters. It can contain the lowercase and the numbers. It cannot contain the uppercase letters. The storage account name should be unique, which we have discussed. It should be globally unique. You cannot repeat the same name. Endpoint for the storage account services. So if I am creating the storage account for the data lake, then the name of the storage account, then the name of the service dfs.core.windows.net. This is the service endpoint with my account name. It will be my storage account endpoint. And similarly for Azure files, the name of the storage account for the Azure file, then file.core.windows.net. This will be the endpoint for the storage account for the Azure files. If I am creating the storage account for the Q storage, then the storage account name q.core.windows.net. This will be the endpoint for the storage account. For table storage, storage account name and .table.core.windows.net. This will be my endpoint. In the next video, we will discuss about storage redundancy. Thank you for watching the video. If you like the content, please subscribe and share the video. Thank you and take care.